If you are an absolute 100% beginner at crochet, I'm going to teach you everything you need to get started, and we are going to make this little square. Making this square will teach you everything you need to know to learn how to make a pot holder that I will do a tutorial for later in the week for you. I am working with just a basic hook here. It's, as you can see, it's an H hook. And this is standard worsted weight yarn. It's just acrylic yarn. I think it's Super Saver or whatever it is, the Walmart kind. Let's identify our tools. This is a hook. This is your yarn. And the piece that hangs free is referred to as the tail. When you start crocheting, the first thing that you need to learn how to do is make a slip knot. And I will show you how to do that. It's very easy. You're going to take your tail, wrap it around a couple fingers to make a loop, just like this. This piece that's now behind the back, you're just going to pull it up through the circle that you made. The piece that you're pulling up is now the loop. And you can see this is why it's called a slip knot, because it is adjustable. As you'll learn, the tension that you keep, how tight you keep the yarn on your hook, will affect your project. That's why making a simple square like this is really important, because when you start, most people when they start will keep things very, very tight. And the more you practice, the more you'll get used to it being loose, and it'll make your projects go a lot more easily. We have our slip knot here. And I guess before I start, I should tell you that I am left-handed. Some people have a hard time learning from left-handers. My grandmother who taught me was right-handed, and I learned pretty easily from her. Hopefully I can teach you something. We have our yarn on our hook. There's a couple ways that you can hold the yarn that you're working from. I have my little center pull ball here off to the side that I'm feeding my yarn from. I hold my yarn like this. I lay my yarn over my pinky, and then I flip my hand over so it wraps around my pinky. I keep it under these two fingers and over the index. It looks very complicated, but I do that so that I can hold the tail with my thumb and my middle finger, and I can move my index up and down to adjust the tension. When I'm starting out, I like to grab the knot specifically, and I keep it loose on the hook so I can move it in and out. Other people simply just wrap it over one finger. You'll have to experiment with a few different ways and find out the way that works best with you. To make this project, we have to start out with a starting chain of 11, and I will explain what that means. To get it going, all you're going to do is use your hook to grab some yarn, and you're going to pull through this loop that's on your hook. So I'll show you. Here is one starting chain, and we're going to do this 11 times. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Our finished project is 10 stitches across. But to get started, we need a starting chain of 11, and I'll explain to you why. Right now, we have, you can see each of these is like a V shape, right? And this is our 10 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And this is the 10th one that we made. What we're going to do now is have to work across the top of these. In order to do that, we're going to have to work into each starting chain. Now, because this is the 10th one and our hook is still attached to the yarn through that, we can't go directly into it or it'll undo the stitch that we just made. We have our starting chain of 10. And we're going to give ourselves what's called a turning chain of 1. Now this is our 11th chain, and what it does is give us room to move up and over. So now we can go directly into this 10th chain. What we're going to be doing Next is working across the top row with what's called a single crochet. It's a single crochet stitch. So what you're going to do is insert your hook into this top loop here. You'll see there's this top piece of yarn and a bottom piece on each one that creates these V shapes. We're going into the top piece of yarn. You're going to insert your hook and pull a loop up through the first loop on your hook, the one that you just went into. To show you again real slow, insert the hook to the top, pull up one loop. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through both. Now that you just gave yourself 1 single crochet, we're going to do that across for a total of 10. So we're at 1, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, and pull through. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this is our last one here at 10. So this is your first row of single crochet. Now, just like before, when we gave ourselves a turning chain, we're going to do that again because we have to work back and forth across to add length to the project. So we'll give just a chain 1 at the end, and that allows you to turn your work around, and we're going to be working across. Now at the top of your work, same thing, you'll see a series of V's, shapes all the way across. These are the tops of your single crochet. When you insert your hook, now you're going to be going under both of these loops. We're going to insert our hook, and we're going to make sure that it's under both loops there. Insert the hook, yarn over, and pull up. There's now 2 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through both. Now, as you're working, you might find that some stitches feel a lot bigger and some are really tight. That is completely normal for your first time crocheting. It's going to feel clunky and awkward until you get the hang of it, and your stitches will even out. So don't get frustrated if you're having a hard time. Just keep going. What you want to do right now is build a little bit of muscle memory and learn the flow and the motion of the crochet. On our second row, we've just made our first single crochet. We're going to work all the way across for a total of 10. You're going to insert your hook, yarn over, pull up, yarn over, and pull through both. Now there's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and it can be a little hard at the very end to see where your stitch is. Just try to remember to look for the V. This is also why counting your stitches as you do them, especially in the beginning, can be really important. We know we're at 9 and we know that we need 10. When you get to near the end of your row and you have a hard time finding where you're supposed to insert the hook, like I said, it's really easy to just kind of look for that V shape. That's the top of the stitch from the previous row, and those are the loops that you want to move your hook under. We're going to go in under both of those, yarn over and pull up, yarn over and pull through. Now you've completed your second row. At the end of your second row, again, it's very important to do your turning chain where you just yarn over and pull through and then turn your work. Continue this process for a total of about 10 rows, and I'll meet you back at the end to show you what to do. We have finished our 10 rows. We'll go back, we're at the 9th stitch here. We're going to finish for our 10th. Now, this looks a little different than the finished product. You'll notice that there appears to be a little border of stitches all the way around. I like to add those because the edges of the crochet, you can see, are a little bumpy. So if you want to clean it up, you can add a series of what's called slip stitches around. I like to give myself an extra chain just to move my hook away from the yarn. Now, a slip stitch is not a full single crochet like what we did. We're now going to be working down the side. We're going to insert the hook, and instead of pulling through and up where we normally make the single crochet, instead of doing that, we're going to insert the hook, and then we're going to pull all the way through this loop here, just like this. And that makes the little stitch lay flat on the work. I'll show you again so you can see how it ends up laying. Again, we're going to insert, and we're going to pull. We're going to insert the hook, and then we're going to pull directly through this loop. Grab your yarn, and then you can pull it up, but then you're just going to continue to pull it through the loop. I hope that that is making sense. Normally, again, if you were doing a single crochet, you would pull up and then you would yarn over and pull through both of those. We aren't doing that. We're doing the slip stitch. You're inserting your hook, and then you're going to pull the yarn through the loop that's on your hook. Now, if you do this all the way around the border, it gives it a more finished look. You'll continue to slip stitch around all sides of the square, and then when you get to the very end, you're going to do what's called finishing off. You're just going to yarn over and pull up through the loop on your hook. From there, you can cut your yarn and pull it all the way through. And then just give it a little tug to tighten that knot. And now you'll see that you're left with two tails on your square that need to be sewn in, and I'll show you how to do that. So you'll want to buy a needle that's made specifically for yarn. It's a little bit bigger and easier to work with. You'll see that there's these vertical stitches running up and down. The easiest way to hide your tail is to just sew them directly under those stitches, and you'll see that you can't see the thread or the needle from the front or the back. So weaving the tails between the stitches of your work like this not only hides it, but it keeps the work from ever being undone. I do all my tails like this, and I have never had a piece of thread come undone or a knot come undone. It lasts forever. And once you've pulled it all the way through, I like to pull the thread so it makes the project scrunch up a little bit. That way when you cut the yarn and then pull your project out a bit, that tail gets completely hidden within the work. There's no leftover fuzzy edges that are sticking out. And then of course just do the same to the other tail that you have, and you will be completely finished. There you have it. You've learned the basics of crochet. Using everything that you learned in this video, you could make a scarf or a blanket. You could make a hot pad. There's a ton of things that you can do with just the simple basic crochet stitch. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. I know that this was painfully slow for some of you, but I hope I covered everything to get you started.